This is The Joe Gaither Show on BamaCentral.com.
Good morning, Tuscaloosa. Good morning, Tuscaloosa, Internet World, West Alabama. How we doing today on a Thursday? It's the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central, BamaCentral.com. Hope you and yours are doing well. You're watching us on the Bama Central Facebook page, on the Bama Central YouTube channel, listening to us on Apple Podcast, Amazon, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. You can find the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. We appreciate everybody who subscribed, rated, reviewed the program on their favorite podcast platforms. Shows presented by Derek Daniel, State Farm Insurance. Call Derek for all of your insurance needs at 205-758-3391. Like a good neighbor, Derek Daniel is there. Call and see how much Derek can save you today. We're also proudly presented by Purple Turtle Roofing. You can check out Purple Turtle Roofing at roofturtle.com for all of your roofing needs all across the Southeast, but particularly right here in Alabama. It doesn't matter whether it's residential or commercial, whether it's metal or shingle roofs, any kind of roofs, any kind of building, they can take care of you. Purple Turtle Roofing. Check them out today at roofturtle.com. We're joined by our friends Theo Fernandez and Katie Wyndham. You follow them at Theo Fernandez __ on the Twitter machine and Katie Wyndham _ on the Twitter machine as well, leading all of our coverage at BamaCentral.com. We're going to have a lot of fun today talking Alabama softball as it's super regional time in Tuscaloosa. We're going to do that with Katie Wyndham. We're going to talk about a new Alabama basketball commit. Anderson Diaz has chosen to continue his basketball playing days with the Crimson Tide. So we'll talk about Anderson Diaz, what Nate Oates is getting in his brand new guard. I've got a voicemail. You guys can leave a voicemail at 205-462-7340, extension 800. The voicemail is going to be talking about baseball and a little Alabama football. So we'll dabble into both of those topics as Alabama baseball's game today has been moved up from roughly 7:30 p.m. to about 3:30 p.m. to avoid weather in Hoover. So I'll be driving up there today to watch Alabama's midday baseball game, and I cannot wait to get into it with all of our friends. Good morning, Katie. How are we doing today?
Good morning. I'm good. And Joe, I hope that you're not driving up there in the middle of a storm. I think me and you might be keeping folks pretty informed over the next couple of days about weather issues in the state of Alabama as it pertains to diamond sports.
Absolutely, dude. I haven't even looked at Friday yet, but I saw a couple days ago, 3-4 days ago, James Spann was putting out his kind of weekly outlook for the tournaments and such, and said, sporadic rain through the week throughout Alabama. So hopefully the softball ladies can get their 2 or 3 games off without a hitch, and the baseball team and all the teams in Hoover can play without a hitch. So baseball starting today with Georgia and Mississippi State, just for those who didn't see it. Georgia and Mississippi State at noon, and Alabama and Florida are playing 30 minutes after that. So, Theo, you were talking about FOMO yesterday, missing this Alabama baseball team. Are you missing a potential rain delay? Good morning. How are you?
Yeah, so Alabama fans not super happy about that, right? It was going to be I mixed up the time zone. So what? It would have been 7 o'clock Central first pitch, and now Alabama has to play at 3, which I have to remember to watch at 1 now, man. I do not like time zones at all, but I'm doing good. Other than that, fun. Today is, a nice day off. Today's going to be my last day off until July 8th. So we are going to really enjoy today, relax a little, and then hit the ground running.
You going to the beach or doing something very California? What's on the docket real quick?
We got a lot of laundry and grocery shopping on tap, and I'm hoping I can make it to the beach.
I hope you can make it to the beach as well. Get the laundry done and handle the grocery shopping so you can stay on track for this next month and change where you're going to be grinding, covering the World Cup for Fox Sports. Let's get right into softball with Katie Wyndham. Last week, she talked about Belmont and she talked about USC Upstate, and really Alabama just steamrolled right through both programs and never even had to play Southeast Louisiana. Katie, before we get into LSU, I'll just take you back to last weekend. What were your biggest takeaways as Alabama rolled right through the Tuscaloosa Regional?
Yeah, I think we kind of saw a continuation of just how good this pitching has been all year long. They're good. Now, I think we anticipated going to the weekend that there could be some potentially good pitching matchups, meaning the offenses Alabama played were not great, but they have done the same thing against great offenses. So they did what they were supposed to do against the level of competition they were playing. Belmont had one of the best pitchers in the country. Nobody ever said they had one of the best offenses, but Jocelyn Brisky still shut them down. It was kind of crazy to see back-to-back days, Saturday and Sunday, Alabama taking a perfect game, I think, into the fifth inning in both games. Just dominance from the pitcher. Offensively, kind of my biggest takeaways were it's a good thing you had Jenny Young, who's been in the leadoff spot since the SEC tournament. She played really well. Audrey Vandergriff, who came into the year as your leadoff, who was the leadoff last year as a freshman, led the team in almost every offensive category last season, got bumped this year because she just wasn't having a great year at the plate, but she had a great regional weekend. She went 6 for 9. Had 2 home runs, had a bunt single, would single through the gap. She was just doing everything she needed to do to get on base. And I think she's going to be kind of a key for them moving forward if they're going to continue to have offensive success. If she's somebody that can constantly get on base, she can steal, have some traffic on the base pass, put some pressure on the defense. I think that's a good thing for the Crimson Tide. And that was kind of my biggest takeaway offensively. And then I just think it was a good crowd at Rose this past weekend, but not great. And I think this weekend it would be. The weather might play some factors in that, because it's always, Alabama fans kind of infamously love rain delays because of what happened with the 2012 national championship, but also it logistically, it can create problems for people. If you have to leave the stadium and then come back and you don't live in town, or even if you do and it becomes later and later, or if your seats aren't under the cover, if you're those faithful fans out in the Brickyard, it's not as fun to be sitting out there in a torrential downpour. So we'll see how that affects the crowds. But I think it'll be a good one this weekend, and kind of a continuation of the crowds last weekend.
Yeah, so Alabama's taking on LSU starting on Friday night. Alabama is opening up a 3-game series. Well, really best of 3. If you can take the first 2 and be done, that's the ideal. Friday at 6 o'clock. And as Katie said, there is scattered thunderstorms all throughout the weekend. So ideally, they do get the game started at 6 o'clock and can play all 7 innings. Friday at 6 o'clock, and then it's going to be Saturday at 2, and Sunday is to be determined. That's the if necessary game. Katie, the ladies had an extremely successful SEC regular season, finishing second place in the league and second in the conference tournament, but they never played LSU the entire time. What are we getting in the LSU Tigers? Tell us about their season. Obviously, they won the Baton Rouge Regional, so they're riding high. They got some momentum. What is LSU bringing to Tuscaloosa?
They're a team that had a really up and down season. They had some high highs, some low lows. I believe they finished 12-12 in SEC play, so right in the middle of the pack. They started out 1-5 in SEC play, and things were looking pretty rough for them. And then they kind of turned around. I think I saw a tweet yesterday that they've won 8 of their last 9, which I guess would be the only loss would be when they lost in the SEC tournament to Georgia. So LSU is a very unique softball program, and that they've had a lot of success, and they're consistently towards the top of the SEC, but they haven't made the Women's College World Series since 2017, which was almost a decade now. When you think about how often Alabama goes and some other SEC programs go, and they just, for whatever reason, the last couple of years have just not been able to get over the hump. And obviously Alabama fans are hoping that's the case again this year, that it's not the year LSU makes their return to Oklahoma City. But they've had Beth Torina's been their coach for a while. Now that I'm saying that, I'm wondering if, because also infamously Patrick Murphy left Alabama for LSU for about 3 days prior to the 2012 season, came back, then won a national title. I'm trying to remember if I don't think she's the one who ended up taking the job then, but I know she's been there for a while. So
her bio page has her going into her 15th season this year.
So she would have been the one that they hired after Murph, I guess. So she's been there for a while. They've had a lot of success, but like I said, they've kind of been snake bit in the postseason lately. Last year they lost in regionals at home. This year they kind of are able to breeze through the regional against a team in Virginia Tech that was right there on the hosting bubble. And so I think some people thought maybe Virginia Tech would come out of that regional, that it would be a little bit tougher for them, and LSU was able to do it. And it's going to set up an exciting all SEC matchup. Like I said, they've kind of had an up and down year, so they don't really have anyone that's dominating statistically. Some of their best players, like Tori Edwards, in the past, she's hitting 287 this year, which in some sports is like great in softball. It's not as good. It's still good, but not great. I think but they have a lot of talent. It just necessarily didn't always translate at times, but they're playing well. They're hot now. And so I think it'll be a fun time in Rhodes this season.
I did not know about Pat Murphy taking the LSU job at all. That's news to me.
I need to show you. I saw a TikTok this week that that is like, I would love, like, literally more than anything, like when he retires, I need Murph to give me the tell-all on what happened in those 3 days. So he left Alabama. He did the introductory press conference at LSU, talked about like, oh, it was so hard to tell my players at Alabama, like that, like I was leaving. And then 3 days later, he's back in Tuscaloosa. They win the national championship. So it's a wild story that I think people do forget about, especially because it's been a while now, and it was before like they won the national title. He had a lot of connections in Louisiana because he had coached at Louisiana Lafayette, I believe. And so he's from Iowa, but had a bunch of Louisiana connections. I think coached maybe baseball in the state too. And yeah, I would love to know what happened in those 3 days, whether it was truly the heart pulling him back to Tuscaloosa, there was some kind of something felt off at LSU, whatever it was. He just knew how special of a team he had at Alabama. But yeah, there's some interesting lore between Alabama and LSU softball. There's also, I can't think of his name right now, but he will be at Rhodes Stadium this weekend, no doubt. There's an LSU fan that his sister was on the team a couple of years ago. And so he would go to every game, and then he still just now goes to every game. And he has a big like wrestling belt that he carries, and he'll stand up on the front row and wave his belt. And so a lot of the older fans at Rhodes do not like him. But he's a great like softball fan. Like, he's not like taunting. He's just very loud and proud for the LSU Tigers. And so there have been some scuffles with him through the years. And I've already seen some of the older fans on Facebook saying, if he's on the front row at Rhodes this weekend, like somebody's not doing their job. So I think his name's D'Angelo. He'll definitely be there this weekend. He said he's going to be there. And then so him and Emily Pitek for Alabama are kind of like two iconic softball fans. So yeah, there's some lore between Alabama and LSU. And last time they've been to Rhodes was 2023. Montana Fouts, I believe it was her last regular season series. So a lot of these LSU players have not played at Rhodes. And this, to me, Super's environment, as it should be, is like the pinnacle of what Rhodes can be, because you have a spot in the World Series on the line. It's normally as full as it's been all year. And I think this weekend, because it's been a while since they've hosted Supers, LSU is an SEC rival. There's all that history. I think it should be packed crowds. And I think those LSU players are going to be feeling the pressure. They have a great park down there in Baton Rouge, but I think it's going to be a lot of intensity this weekend. There's
some juice for the rivalry. There's some stuff to go. I would love to see the LSU Superfan take on Nacho Alabama. I think that's the matchup.
I'm sure Nacho will be there too at some point, at least one of the days.
Nacho's awesome. I love that guy. I interviewed him first, so he's incredible. I guess looking at the on-field stuff, Alabama idea is that Brisky and Moten are the only two pitchers to throw over the weekend at this point. Have we reached that stage yet, Katie?
Yeah, I mean, I think ideally that's what's going to happen from this point on out. Caitlin Palazzi started the first game last week when you're facing USC Upstate, who's about the equivalent of a good midweek opponent you'd face. And so you want to be able to trust her to be able to do that. I think from this point out, you want it to be only pretty much Brisky or Moten. If it's not them, if you're an Alabama fan, you're hoping it's because you're up by so much that you're getting to put other people in. If it's because the other two are just not doing great and you have to put somebody else in from the bullpen, then obviously you're not in a good spot. I think Alabama will start Jocelyn Brisky for sure on Friday in game one. And then depending on how that goes, I wouldn't be like completely shocked if she just started again on Saturday. Really, if they won or lost, I think if they win on Friday, you start her on Saturday to just kind of go ahead and end it. I think if you lose on Friday, you might start her on Saturday because you're facing elimination at that point. But I think their ideal would be this weekend. Brisky starts Friday, Vic starts on Saturday, and Brisky could come in to save it or close it out if they need her to. But yeah, I think it's pretty much just definitely going to be those two. Those will be the only two starting from this point on out, I would think. And then maybe see others from the bullpen, but likely not.
So it would basically be, okay, Brisky runs into some trouble, Moten is the one who comes in.
Yeah, I think so. They pretty much always, like, I know in some sports, like you can look at who's warming up in the bullpen and be like, oh, that's who's probably coming in next. Softball, they're constantly out there warming up, so it doesn't necessarily mean anything, but I think it'll be, I think if Brisky runs any trouble on Friday. Now, if it's like really bad trouble and they're down like 7 runs, I think they would just bring in Palazzi or somebody because you're not going to let them face Moten because these teams haven't played this year. They played last year in Baton Rouge. So LSU's seen Brisky before. They've never seen Moten. So I think if they get down like really big, like early on, I think he'll just put in Palazzi or Ailey Johnson or somebody because the game's kind of a lost cause at that point. But I don't necessarily anticipate that happening. But I think that's kind of the only scenario where you see somebody other than Brisky or Moten pitching on Friday.
Very good question from Everett Osmer. Yeah.
Yeah, let's start right here with the fun one. Everett chiming in on Facebook with Return of the Green Cup. Yep, drinking my coffee. Katie, what is your favorite drink, whether it be a morning drink or just in general?
Definitely a Chick-fil-A Coke Zero. I knew I was part of the reason I was running behind this morning is I went to Publix, which like life hack, I don't normally like waking up early, but Publix at 8 a.m. is so calm and relaxing compared to yesterday. I went to Walmart at 2 and like you couldn't even move. There's so many people in there. But on the way back, I knew I needed to prep some food, but I was like, I need a Chick-fil-A Coke Zero to help my voice for the show this morning. And so I can just have some fuel for the rest of the day. So it's definitely a nice crisp Coke Zero from Chick-fil-A.
So we got the fun question. Then we got an actual softball question. Does the weather play a factor if you have 2 pitchers? That's actually a really interesting one, Katie.
Yes and no. I still maintain to this day that in 2021, the first year I covered the team and they went to the World Series, that they win the first 2 games. They're in the semifinals. They just need to win 1 game against Florida State to advance. And the games were supposed to be like they used to do just 2 games in a day at the World Series. If you lost the first game, the if necessary game would be the same day. And then it rained so much that day. There was all these thunderstorms that delayed it. And the second game was the next day. And I think if they would have played both in the same day, they would have won 1 of the 2 against Florida State, moved on. But I think because they had to wait another day, it just was too much mentally and physically. Softball pitchers are so used to playing in these travel ball tournaments and high school where, especially if you're from the South and you deal with these thunderstorms all the time, they warm up and then sit down and they throw and then there's been games before that I've covered at Rhodes where the game starts, they play an inning or 2, then there's like a 2-hour delay, and then the same pitcher comes back out and throws the rest of the game. So it kind of does. I think it's not ideal for them, obviously, because they all have warm-up routines and things they do and how they take care of their body, but Alabama has a great training staff and that'll take care of the pitchers and make sure they're ready to go. But it does like play a role, I'm sure, in their fatigue, but it's not as big of a deal as it would be in baseball, whereas like if you warm up and throw and then you have a long delay, you're done. Like softball pitchers are just like different animals. Like they will just, especially this time of year where it's winter go home, like they will do anything.
They're going to throw that daggum arm off.
Yeah. But then like it doesn't even really like, I mean, I'm sure they get tired and sore and they'll talk about it a little bit, but like, yeah, it just the way their motion is, it's not as tiring on them as a baseball pitcher going overhand, so they can just crank out those pitches inning after inning, day after day, after delay, whatever it is.
That's wild. That's wild. We're hanging out with Katie Wyndham, lead writer for BamaCentral.com, and she's going to lead all your coverage for Alabama Super Regional against LSU. And we've handled most of it by now, Katie. So let's just get to a big picture and a bottom line. If Alabama wins, what do they need to do? Give me a 1 or 2 kind of this has to happen. But on the flip side, if the season ends in an unfortunate fashion, what would have happened? What is the recipe for Alabama to be upset in this Super Regional?
I'll start with that one first. I think the recipe to be upset is the offense just doesn't click this weekend. I think we've seen, like, there's literally been once, maybe twice all year that you've not gotten a quality start from your pitcher, which is just insane how consistent they've been. So, like, they have not been the problem. Whenever Alabama's lost or struggled, it's generally been the offense. So I think if they somehow get eliminated at home this weekend, I think that's going to contribute a big part to it. I don't see LSU necessarily just pouncing on Alabama's pitching, at least not twice in one weekend. I think that's the good thing about supers is you have one opportunity to kind of blow it in a game, make a mistake, have a meltdown, whatever, because it's best 2 out of 3. Now, ideally, of course, you win the first 2 and you're done. But I don't necessarily – it would be hard for me to see them losing twice at home because, first of all, that didn't happen all season long. They only lost one SEC series, and it was on the road. They swept 4 of them. So this is kind of just continuation of the regular season, and that they're facing an SEC series at home. Now, it's not a team they played, which I think is probably more of a good thing than a bad thing that they haven't faced LSU yet this year. But I think that's kind of what happens if they get eliminated is the offense just doesn't click. They don't put together a lot of runs. Keys for them to win, I think would be the offense clicking. I don't think it has to be a ton of power, even though that helps. I think it needs to be people getting on base, putting pressure on the LSU defense, like we kind of saw last weekend. Kristen White had a good weekend in the 9-hole, and that's what you need from her to be able to turn that lineup over, put the ball on the ground, make the defense make a play instead of hitting in the air, which she can kind of be prone to do as a slapper. And with her speed, like so many good things happen when she puts the ball on the ground instead of popping it up. She just makes it so much easier for the defenses when she does that. So I think if you have her turn the lineup over. Last weekend, it was kind of odd, and there was never really a game where your top 2 hitters, Alexis Papilla and Brooke Wells, were never kind of on at the same time. They were kind of having off days, like on alternating days, if that makes sense. So I think if you have both of them clicking in the same game, I think that's big trouble for LSU. I say top 2 hitters. They're their top 2 statistically, not in the lineup. They're second and third. And so I think it's that. And then I think you just continue to have good starts from your pitchers, which, like I said, is kind of the expectation at this point. And I think Alabama will be back in Oklahoma City if they have the pitching they have all year. And that's the thing. You don't need to score a lot of runs when you have good pitching. And the problem for Alabama some in the past couple of years was they had good pitching and they could not score like any runs. This offense is much more adept at putting together runs, putting together innings, home runs that are kind of the knockout blow. And so I think we'll see that this weekend.
She's Katie Wyndham, so make sure you follow her for all of your Alabama softball coverage at Katie Wyndham _ and right there at BamaCentral.com. The ladies are getting it started with LSU at 6 o'clock on Friday, hopefully barring any storms, and 2 o'clock on Saturday, barring any weather issues. So you want to keep Katie Wyndham on alert as well for any weather issues that may arise this weekend. Guys, why don't we transition real quick because we woke up to some news today. I know it's late May and this is a slow time in college athletics, especially for football and men's basketball, which usually carry our themes. But we got a little men's basketball news today. Theo Anderson-Diaz has committed to join the Alabama Crimson Tide. Mr. Diaz is listed as he's from Atlanta right here on 24/7 Sports, but I believe that he's moved to New York. Okay. He's from the Bronx, New York, according to other outlets. So listed as Atlanta. I played for Overtime Elite in Atlanta, according to 24/7 Sports. 4-star athlete, 4-star point guard, 6'1", 180 pounds, listed by 247 as the number 7 point guard in the class and the number 29 overall player in the class. From our friend Hunter DeCiver, who covers all things Alabama basketball for Bama Central. He writes at Overtime Elite, 17.2 points per game, almost 5 rebounds, 4.9, 7 assists, and 1.3 steals for the Cold Hearts in the Overtime Elite League. And when he was playing with the New York Rams in the Nike EYBL, he scored 20.6 points, 4.4 rebounds, and 4.5 assists per game. So I know it's been very, very fresh, but have you had a chance this morning to look at Anderson Diaz's highlight tape I sent you? It's okay if you didn't, but it really, NATO is bringing in another top-level point guard.
Yeah, I was a little distracted in the beginning of the show because I went through and I watched through his highlight tape. First of all, started his high school career at St. Raymond for Boys in the Bronx, high school that I competed against a number of times.
We won all the time.
Here's the Theo Fernandez highlight tapes.
Oh, you do not want to look at that. The tape is locked very securely in the vault and will not be released anytime soon. I really like this. I mean, I like the stuff that he put on tape. I look at what he does, and he is really, really creative just as a playmaker, as a scorer. I see a lot of the creativity. I see a lot of the 3-level scoring, breaking down defenses, getting into the paint. Very good job of getting in, drawing guys in, kicking out. Just does everything you would want your starting point guard to do. So, I mean, he put some really nice stuff on tape, I thought, especially knowing that, yeah, he's playing against some pretty high-level comp in that overtime league. I think Alabama should be excited about this pickup to give I guess, it's a little bit of a strong comp. But I see shades of Darius Garland in his game. I see a lot of what made Garland I guess Garland went number 5 overall in 2019. I see a lot of that. I see a lot of that creativity and somebody who's a little smaller, which obviously Diaz could still grow, as a 2027 guy at 6'1", he could still hit 6'2", 6'3". So that would obviously, every inch counts a lot for NBA potential, as we see in the draft talks. But as of right now, yeah, I see Garland a lot, and Garland is a really, really lethal pick and roll runner. He can knock down the 3 as well. I think this is a really, really good fit in the Nate Oates offense. I also think as we look at him and as we look at the state of Alabama's class, reclassifying is not out of the picture here, right? We are committed. We know that Alabama needs another guard. I think it would make all the sense in the world to bring him up a year early.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to throw at Katie Wyndham. Katie, I know you've been talking softball all morning and cooking and getting ready for your big day, so probably hadn't had a chance to look at this Anderson Diaz fella too extensively. But taking what Theo just threw out there, which I think is absolutely a possibility, you don't know what's going to happen with Amari Allen. You've got Amari, 6 more days or so till the deadline. I think it's next Wednesday is the deadline. And you don't really know what the status is of Aiden Holloway with his legal troubles. He could get cleared and get back on the court right for the start of the year, or could go in all kinds of directions, really. What do you think that this do you think this move means that Alabama is going to try to get Anderson Diaz to reclassify so they can use him and use the point guard skill set on the floor this year?
That definitely seems like a possibility, especially from people that know more than me on this topic that are saying on Twitter. It is wild to me, like that. Okay, and well, I guess if he's from the north, like it's not as, but like the school year is over down here, so it's like, how can you reclassify when school's already done? Like you just cram in a bunch of stuff in the summer and the people work their magic behind the scenes. It's kind of crazy to me that can work out, but I know obviously it does fairly frequently. But the timing of it does seem to lend towards that's a possibility. And yeah, there are a lot of unknowns, but then I think you're also kind of in a spot where I think it's interesting, all the stuff Amari Allen's been saying about, they've told me I can run the offense if I come back. It's also a very interesting spot. Our pal Mike Rodak at 24/7 keeps tweeting out updates of where Amari Allen is in the mock drafts, because he said basically he needs a first round promise to stay. But he's kind of on that border of the first round. So I think this is kind of the most up in the air prospect there's probably been in the Nate Oates era of like, is he coming back or is he going to go? Because like a guy like Mark Sears, like you pretty much knew like, okay, he's going to come back. Like he's not going to be a first round NBA draft pick. And then some guys like Clowney, like it became obvious, okay, he is going to for sure be like a high first round pick. So like he's going to go, as sad as Alabama fans were to see that. I think this is really like so up in the air, and like you can see the pros and cons for him both ways. Because if he's a first round NBA draft pick, of course he should move on. But then I'm sure he'd get a pretty nice NIL package from Alabama, and it's supposedly been promised that he'll be able to basically run the offense, which would only help his draft stock. So it's an interesting guard situation for Alabama right now.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening if Anderson Diaz does reclassify. Right now, exactly, he is a rising senior, so he will have if nothing happens, he'll spend his senior year in high school and then join Alabama next year if the commitment holds. So we'll see. But yeah, Theo, I was watching him, and I thought, okay, there's a little Aiden Holloway in some of it. And it's not full Aiden Holloway, right? And then there's a little Kyra Lewis, but it's not full Kyra Lewis by any means. There's a little J.D. Davison, but it's not really J.D. Like it's a little pieces and parts of all of those guys in one player. Somebody that to be refined. I see. I mean, Aiden Holloway, can he dunk a basketball? I don't think Aiden Holloway can dunk a basketball. Maybe he can, but You see that in his highlight tape. So that's what kind of get the slashing ability kind of gives me the Kyra Lewis vibes. But then he's shooting in these highlight tapes pretty effectively. Now, obviously, the highlight tapes aren't going to show the misses, but so it's pretty selective. But I think that there's a skill set on these highlight tapes that just really screams Alabama basketball. So I would like to see him come to Tuscaloosa and see what he can do.
Yeah, and to put a bow on this, very unexcited is the vibe I get from the whole fan base about adding a top 20 point guard. Man, look at how things have changed, right? This is a crazy marquee, absurd addition 5 years ago. Now it's, well, look at all the other, it just doesn't feel the same.
Well, do you want to hear like how Joe just talking about Kenny Dunk makes me think about like when I was in like middle school and high school and I would go to Alabama basketball games, like this is how low my standard was for the games. Like I wanted to see a dunk in the game. Like, and that would make me excited. Like, I'm not kidding. Like that would be like worth it to be at the game that day if they dunked. So yeah, times have definitely changed for Alabama basketball.
So welcome Anderson Diaz into the class of 2027. The last thing I got for Katie Whitney, because I know she's going to get out of there to get ready for a lot of action. I know softball, y'all have a media availability probably and a practice to get to. So a lot of things for you, busy day, is Alabama football captains. The last couple of weeks we've been doing, 5 players that can break out. Last week we did 5 freshmen that can make an impact. On Monday, Hunter DeCiver wrote 5 players that need to step up for Alabama football. Last night I was charged with 5 players that could be Alabama football's captains. And Katie, I went through the list and I thought, is this team devoid of leadership? I ended up with a pretty decent list. I'm happy with the list that I ended up with. Right there, perfect. I ended up selecting Keon Sabb, Bray Hubbard. I ended up selecting Ryan Coleman Williams, William Sanders, and Yanzi Pierre. But really, as I just went to the roster first off. And I went to all the redshirt seniors. And I just started at the bottom and went to the top, and I stopped at sophomore. So if you were not a 3-year player, you weren't considered. But my list was light. My list was really light. I had Jamarian Latham, Keon Sabb, Caleb Woodson, I know he's a transfer, Bray Hubbard, Yanzi Pierre, Austin Mack, Ryan Coleman Williams, Red Morgan, Xavier Brown, William Sanders, and QB Reese. Is this team devoid of leadership?
Well, that's why I kind of wrote in the story I did this week about the players that need to step up. I put Bray in there, not as like he needs to step up with his on-field performance because he's obviously already kind of proven himself in that, but I think he is going to just step up and be a leader because some of us on the beat had kind of talked about it towards the end of spring football of like, who are the captains going to be on this team? Like, it is not obvious. This is like the first, it's different because under Kalen, they voted on them preseason during fall camp and then the players decide. And then under Saban, they would normally vote on it and decide it postseason. So, which does, I think, play a factor, of course, into who it's going to be. Because of what you just said, I think there's a strong chance there will be a transfer that's a captain, whether it is a Caleb Woodson, maybe one of the
almost put Devin Tompkins. I almost put Devin Tompkins, and I almost put Rayson Delgatti.
And maybe a Rayson Delgatti. You had Parker Brailsford last year who had been a transfer that was a captain, but it was not the year he transferred in. I think that's something hard to do to earn the respect of your teammates literally right off the bat. A lot of times you have the quarterback as the team captain. But like I said, under Saban, they voted on that after the year. So I think because of that, the quarterback was almost always a team captain because like he led the team the whole season. And then, this was our guy. I think this year you're kind of in an interesting position in that if Keelan wins the job, I don't think they'll make a true sophomore who's never played before a team captain. But then also like if he's going to be the starting guy, then like, he better be one of the leaders of the offense and of the whole team because you're the face of Alabama football if you're the starting quarterback. You're the one who leads the offense every single play. It's kind of – this was probably a much tougher task for you this year than it would be in previous years. If there's some obvious guys who have been in the program 4 or 5 years or who have already been the captain or who are the returning quarterback or whatever it is, like, that guy will be a starter. I think Bray is like the only lock. I think Ryan – Coleman Williams is probably like a 90%, like he's the guy because he is kind of more vocal. And then I think the rest could be up in there. And you can correct me if I'm wrong. I think some years under Saban, there would only be 3. So I think it could be here that there's only 3. And then maybe for the games when they go out for the coin toss and stuff, or there's they kind of rotate who gets to do it like they used to do under Saban. But yeah, it because I think of, and I hate always bringing up like the age of college football we're in with the transfer portal. You don't have guys that have been in the program as long that have, really invested in these same teammates, been in Tuscaloosa all this time. And so it's not as obvious of, this guy is your captain, your leader. And obviously we're not privy to all the leadership stuff. Every single player tells us in spring camp that they want to step up in being, that's something they want to improve on, is being a more vocal leader. So they all want to be leaders, or all think they want to be, but it's not everyone's gift or skill, or depending on their position, not always necessarily necessary. I think there is maybe, from an outside perspective, a leadership void. Obviously in the building, there's people that are stepping up and leading the team.
Theo, what do you think about the potential captains? Are they going to give it to a true sophomore like Keelan Russell if he wins the job? Is Austin Mack going to be considered if he wins the job? What are your thoughts on the leaders this year?
I think Ryan Coleman-Williams will be an Alabama football captain. I think it was such a big storyline with him all throughout the spring, was the idea where, I don't know, to me it felt almost like he aged 3 years in one offseason, because for so long it's been Ryan Coleman-Williams, such a young player, whether that's the 17-year-old dominating, or whether it's the, oh, look, he's struggling as a sophomore, he's still so young, he's still so inexperienced. And the whole theme, I feel like this offseason, whether brought up by Ryan or by other players, has been about him maturing. It's been about him stepping up as a leader, being ready to take the next step on the field, obviously, but also just doing all of the other stuff. And then I think it's also, program-wise, a great look to have Ryan Coleman-Williams, who is, for better or worse, the face of the team. I think it makes sense to have him be one of your captains. He's paid his dues. He's got the experience. I think it makes all the sense in the world to name him one of the captains. Defensively, again, I could go back and forth. I think it makes sense for it to be one of the guys in the secondary, right? I think a Keon Sabb or Bray Hubbard, take your pick. And like Katie alluded to, obviously we don't know what's going on behind the scenes. It's hard to. A lot of this is just pure speculation, but it feels like either of those guys certainly has the experience with their tenure in Alabama, with their on-field play. It feels like either of those guys could be a leader.
I agree with you. The question is, do you think the team is devoid of leadership? Is there a hole in the leader? And you're fine. Your comments were great. I just want to lead you down a little further. Is the team needed? Is there a gap in the leadership department for the team?
I think it'd be unfair to say that there is right now, because frankly, I think leadership gap, or I think that's a question you're allowed to start asking after you see things on the field that suggest, oh, maybe this team isn't being led super well, right? And for example, Alabama basketball last year, right? There was a point in the season where, due to the team's composure, due to some of the stuff we were seeing from the team, I think we very fairly started to ask those questions. But to go out and just look at the makeup of the roster, look at the players on it, and say, oh, yeah, I don't know if there's enough leadership here. I don't think that's fair. Especially when, I agree on Caleb Woodson. I think he's a guy who certainly looks like he could gain the respect of his team. It certainly looks like he could be a leader. We just don't know enough about the new guys, and we don't know enough about how the roster's coming together, I think, to make that assessment right now.
I think that's pretty fair answer. Katie, we got a voicemail, and it really leads us down a baseball path. So I'll leave maybe some final words and final comments up to you. Please, everybody, follow Katie Wyndham at @KatieWyndham_ on the Twitter machine. She's going to get out to Road Stadium to cover Alabama softball all weekend long and battle the weather. Tell everybody where to find you, or any final thoughts on softball, or anything you like here.
Yeah, just follow along Alabama Central for softball coverage all weekend. I would encourage Alabama fans, if you don't normally watch the Diamond Sports, this is a great time to the postseason. Baseball is going to be hosting regionals. Softball is hosting supers, has a really good chance at winning a national title. And then you can brag to all the Auburn, your Auburn friends at work, that Alabama won another national title if they did. So I would encourage you. It's never too late to hop on the bandwagon. Just get on it for the postseason, and you can follow the coverage on Bama Central, where we've been covering these teams all year long and kind of know them inside and out. So yeah,
There we go. She's Katie Wyndham. Make sure you do follow her. Follow her instructions at Katie Wyndham _ and at Bama Central. Katie, have a great weekend. Stay dry.
Thanks, guys. I'll try.
Absolutely. That's Katie Wyndham joining us. We're going to turn our attention to the voicemail line where we take a voicemail from Hunter Brantley. But before we do that, we want to tell you all about our friends at Purple Turtle Roofing. At Purple Turtle Roofing, we're not just another contractor. We're your neighbor and your advocate when it comes to protecting your home or business. With years of hands-on experience, top-tier certification, and a commitment to excellence, we've built a reputation as Alabama's go-to roofing solution. We specialize in residential roofing, commercial roofing, emergency storm repairs, full-on roof replacements, insurance claim support, and more. You can visit us online at roofturtle.com or for all the products and services, or call us if you want to talk to somebody at 877-787-6635 today. That's 877-PT-ROOF-5, or visit them online at roofturtle.com. Roofing with heart, built to last. Purple Turtle Roofing. All right, Theo Fernandez. Let's finish the program up on the voicemail line. You guys can call the voicemail line at 205-462-7340, extension 800. Here is Hunter Brantley.
Who's ready for a T-Face Shove Day, baby? Who's ready? It's coming to you live at the Hoover Met at 3:30 this afternoon. Due to the chance of rain, but it won't rain on this hit parade, I promise you that. Liam Peterson on the other side, we hit him pretty well last time against Florida when they came to the Joe. 6 runs. It was by far his worst outing of the year. Mr. First-round draft pick. More like Mr. Irrelevant to me, man. He's not that good. I promise you. He has been barreled up and he has been shelled more times this year than he has probably in his entire life. I think I was seeing something. Let's see, on Florida's website, I looked up the stats from the last 4 or 5 outings. He's given up at least 4 runs in 3 of his last 4. Is that first-round material? And he's playing A&M, Oklahoma, people that aren't near as good as us. He's even seeing the legendary Eric Hines and Justin LeBron. I think we got this made. I really do. What do y'all think? I know T-Fay threw a no-hitter, and it's not going to be like that this time around, but he does pitch well against Florida. We've seen that. It might not be a no-hitter, but he's had good runs against really good teams, against elite lineups. He has established himself as one of the best pitchers, not only in the SEC, but I feel like in the country. He's made a lot of money this year going towards the MLB draft. And let's hope that he continues to do that and continues to progress. I want to know y'all's thoughts on the game, especially the Liam Peterson-Tyler Say matchup. I feel like that's kind of interesting. Both lineups have been hitting good, as I said earlier. Should be a really fun game. Maybe Florida will score a run and get a hit. So let's see. I mean, why not? That'd be kind of a wasted trip to Hoover, Alabama, to go up there and not get a hit in the quarterfinals. Kind of be a wasted afternoon. Anyway, let's get to football. There's been a topic that's been surfing the internet. I guess we're at this point in the offseason where we like to talk about, should the white helmets come back? Should we bring back the white helmets? I've been saying this for years on end now. It seems like ever since, I think COVID, when it first started, like really ramping up, and we talked about this every single offseason since then, I guess because there was nothing to do. But for the past 6-7 years, I've been seeing this topic about the white helmets. And yes, the answer is yes. Bring them back. Bring them back. I did a story on this last year. All the former players want them. Newberry, Cornelius Bennett, the all-time leading tackler Wayne Davis were like, yeah, come on, man. We were tough wearing those. You know, we might not have been good on the field, but they look tough, and I agree. I think they look really sick. I saw the equipment team was teasing us with that post the other week or last weekend, whenever it was. And why not? You know, I feel like there's not a legitimate reason that we shouldn't be wearing these. You know what I mean? I don't really understand the narrative. I don't really understand the discourse to say, oh, it's not traditional, it doesn't break, or it's not traditional, it breaks tradition. And I don't get it. Cornelius Bennett and Joe Namath wore these. 2 of the greatest players to play for this institution wore white helmets. So, no, it does not break tradition. That's just a stupid excuse. What do y'all think? Bring back the white helmets? Yay or nay?
First off, bless you, Theo. I saw you sneeze during the voicemail. Bless you, sir. And I'll just go right with the first part, the second part of that. Yeah. I'm for it. I'm for the white helmet, especially on the road. you're already wearing white on white. Go white on white on white on white. White shoes, white socks, white belts, white spat. Just light crimson trim. Ooh, be so hard.
And do you want this to be a permanent, like regular part of the road uniform, or like a specialty thing, or what's the role for it?
Oh, see, I don't think it should be a permanent thing, but breaking it out when you go down to Auburn, something like that, breaking it out when you go down to Death Valley, because you rotate those road trips. So you just pick your rivals, rotate it between, hey, you're one of the 3 permanent rivals. I guess now it's Mississippi State, Tennessee, and Auburn. Then you get to the white helmets on the road for those 3 permanents to kind of signify that those games are a little special right there. I also don't mind them at home because I've seen renderings and I've seen photos and seen from the late 80s from the 80s and 70s where you are wearing white helmets. I like them.
I do too. I think it's something that you should bring back and then use strategically, like pick and choose when to. You can announce a week before the game, hey guys, we're wearing our white helmets today on the road. Or even at home if you want to. Like, I think you should let them gain a reputation, right? Black hoodie of death, white helmet of, oh man, I really should have thought that there. I don't know, white helmet of something. It can signify something for this program.
Go full on Stormtrooper.
Yeah, no, that would be awesome. And right after we do that, baseball is bringing back powder blue uniforms, so everything's going to work out.
I guess if I have to take one with the other, I will. I guess but I am for the white helmets. Not as in every game, but sporadically. So Hunter, I'm on your side there. Let's bring them back sporadically.
Hunter really is like at the forefront of it. He did a really good package for WVUA on the white helmets probably about a year ago now. Like he's been on this for a while.
If they wear them, then we'll give him credit.
Yes.
What do you think about today's game with Alabama and Florida? Baseball, 3:30, roughly about 3:30. Tyler Fahey gets out on the mound. You were in the NCAA tournament with me when Alabama was playing Florida, but you were locked into that game. So what's going to be the matchup with Alabama and Florida today?
I got so much flack for sitting courtside at an NCAA tournament game watching Alabama play Florida. And now we're playing them in the SEC tournament. So who's laughing? I got to watch a no-hitter while enjoying some excellent food courtside at a March Madness game. Am I the first person to ever watch Alabama basketball from that location? Probably. But I do not regret the decision at all. I mean, Tyler Fahey, what he did was so special that it almost made me wish I was not at the NCAA tournament. I didn't realize how many of us are never going to get to see a no-hitter in our lives. When I was talking with Mark Etheridge, D1 baseball reporter, like he goes to baseball. He goes to 3 baseball games a weekend. Has been doing it for probably 25 years at this point. Has never seen one. Maybe never will. I may never see another one in my life, no matter how much baseball I go to. And Tyler Fahey delivered it. And that was such a special moment. And it's funny to think about Tyler Fahey going up against Liam Peterson today. Because Peterson entered the year as basically viewed as the number 1 pitcher in the class. It was him and Flukie from Coastal Carolina. And Peterson has, as Hunter alluded to, had some struggles this year. But when he is on, he is on. This guy has an MLB fastball. This guy has the heater. This guy has just 99th percentile stuff. The ceiling is unreal with him. But like he said, Alabama didn't have much trouble getting him last time around. And a bunch of other teams, like A&M, absolutely have been able to get to Liam Peterson. I think that this game will not show us another no-hitter. I don't think we're getting that out of this contest. And I think both pitchers allow a couple runs in. Fahey has been very good. I think he will continue to be. You've got your best bullpen arms. You've obviously got everyone as rested as they're going to be. I like this game I like both pitchers to probably throw maybe through the 6th, at least into the 6th, and then it really will come down, I think, to the bullpen, and this thing will go down to the wire.
Yeah, I agree with you that both these pitchers are going to go deep in the game. I think that Tyler Fay is going to have it as a point of pride to try to go as deep as he can to save the bullpen. I'm expecting a fun baseball game. I'm going into it as probably a 50-50 prospect for that for both sides. I'm not really feeling as good about Alabama on Saturday if they can get on through to get on through today. But I think they could. You can win today. You can definitely win today. I think it's going to be a challenge with everything that you laid out. And the weather, it kind of just makes it icky. It's going to be a mental day. It's going to be a huge, huge mental day. Which team is more mentally ready to go and plugged in and takes it seriously and wants to compete, brings their edge? Do you think that Florida has any advantage in that specific category because they played yesterday?
They better not. I mean, I'm sorry. If there's a place to look to coaching for, there's no reason to doubt that Rob Vaughn has guys ready.
Sure.
And there's no reason for the team to come out soft or not prepared or anything. With that being said, that's kind of what you'd almost expect out of this team with the way the season has gone. Like, if I'm going to be critical of something, I'm going to be critical of the fact that, yes, this team gets hot, goes on these wins, and then consistency just falls apart. You look at this team that's won 8 out of 9 and has gotten itself into such a great, great position. The Alabama baseball team from this entire season would choose this as the point to, okay, guys, we've done it. It's time to trail off and lose a bunch of games and go on a little slump. So the question comes down to, is this a new team? Has this final run of success really changed things permanently? Have we reached a point in the season where they're like, yes, we know we are a great team. We've worked through the consistency issues. We're not going to shoot ourselves in the foot with 3 errors in this baseball game. And we are going to show everyone that, yes, this is the best Alabama baseball team in years. This is a program that's all this stuff. I don't know. I don't have an answer for you. I guess it was probably after the Vanderbilt sweep. I said that this Alabama baseball team is at a point where it has to earn my trust every single week because I've seen enough of the struggles to know that, yeah, I'm going to have my doubts no matter what.
And it's a new week.
It's a new week. It's a pretty big one at that. And you look at this game, like, both teams know what's at stake. Both teams know that, Florida State's going to play. I think they play Pitt today in the ACC tournament, a game they should win. It's Alabama, Florida State, in my opinion, for this final national seed. You have to win this game. This is the highest. This is one of the highest pressure quarterfinal games any team in the nation will play. Literally, the winner could just get the national seed by default. That is a possibility. Now, national seed obviously doesn't matter if you get bounced in the regional, but there's a lot at stake here. I think Alabama's ready to come play ball. I think the team is prepared. We'll find out pretty shortly on the diamond.
There we go. So we will be up there. I'm going to be driving up to Birmingham very, very soon, actually, as soon as we hit end right here on today's program. Theo, anything else you got for the people today?
No, man, I'm just excited too. It's an off day. I'm going to do some laundry, but I will be watching all 4 of these SEC baseball games. This is about as good a day of athletics as you can find at this time of year, right? Just 4 great SEC matchups. These are all 4 games to be excited, especially, man.
Only 2 today.
Oh, man, I missed the memo on. So that's why Alabama's game was moved up.
Yeah, there was only 2 today. There were supposed to be 3 o'clock and 7.
Yeah.
Now it's noon and 3:30. So we'll see if there's adjustments on the schedule for tomorrow. But yes, you're all good. It's still going to be 2 great games.
2 great games, and Mississippi State. It's Mississippi State, Georgia is still the opener, right?
Yes.
That should be a phenomenal baseball game. That should be a great, great contest. So 2 great baseball games I'm excited to watch.
There we go. And we're going to be covering it all at BamaCentral.com. We encourage you to follow us right there on the interwebs at BamaCentral.com or on all the social media machines. Alabama Crimson Tide on SI. Follow Theo Fernandez at Theo Fernandez _. We appreciate Katie Wyndham giving us her time this morning. Make sure you follow her for all of your softball coverage this weekend and hopefully beyond. We're going to have a lot of fun the rest of the weekend. I'm driving up to Hoover, so follow me at Joe Gaither 6 for all of the news right there. I'll let you know if there's any weather delays. And we're going to have a great rest of the day. Big thanks to Purple Turtle Roofing for sponsoring the program. Derek Daniel, State Farm Insurance, for sponsoring the program. Big thanks to Hunter Brantley for calling us on the voicemail line. You can call the voicemail line at 205-462-7340, extension 800. We'll have a great rest of the day. Thanks so much for joining us. We'll talk to you tomorrow on the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central, BamaCentral.com.
Thanks for joining us on today's edition of the Joe Gaither Show on Bama Central. Keep up with Joe on all his social media pages at Joe Gaither 6. Subscribe, rate, and review the show on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and be sure to read us daily at BamaCentral.com.